startup, like you said, you saw yesterday's recording. So my idea of a startup was termed as a non-tech startup. So how do we approach its longevity?
Got it. Makes sense, Ragvi. Good question. I'll try to cover it in the end.
So there are more questions in the chat box.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
How do I
Sir,
see the
can,
chat?
hello,
Yes,
sir.
please speak up. Please continue. Yeah,
Sir,
Kul.
my question is ki we are in first year right now, semester, first semester. So when do we actually know ki if ki right now we can start with building a startup? Is it the second year or something like third year ka start, or can we build it in second sem or first year?
Got it. Makes sense. Makes sense. Can we start a startup right now? First sem, second sem. I'll cover this in the presentations. Anyone else? Any questions?
So, yeah, I have a question. So, even if we have the product ready, the whole problems come around with the user retention and having users. How
Hmm.
do I how do one begin getting users? Like you just mentioned, iMum's has 2 lakh users. Like it must have started somewhere. So I want to know what is that start where you get your first user and keep getting users. What is that process? Like how to get that?
Great question. Great question here. I think I'll try to these are some of the questions are really nice, and I really appreciate where this is
Yeah.
going. One or two more questions
Yes,
I would want to hear before I
I
start with.
want to add one thing that yeah, making a product like we all are programmers and making a product is comparatively easy. So the whole problem comes with that marketing and getting users thing. So yeah, that was my whole question. Like, how do you do the marketing? How do you
Makes
begin with that user retention thing?
got it. Understood.
Bhaiya, should we
Yeah.
provide all
Yes.
our time to startup or also on studies?
Again, a very nice question. You should you focus on startup or studies? And this is the exact question which I want to kind of tackle in today's session. I think we'll take more questions towards the end, but I got a fair sense of idea that where this is going. And Aditi or Tanya, if you feel that some questions come in during the session in the
Yeah.
chat, do let me know because I may not be able to see the chat.
Okay,
भैया
I'll tell that.
भैया एक्चुअली
Yes.
मुझे ये पूछना था मतलब कि मतलब बेसिक थिंग्स क्या होना चाहिए जिससे हम लोग जैसे एकदम जीरो से स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं तो बेसिक थिंग क्या होना चाहिए जो हमें पहले गैदर करना चाहिए उसके बारे में फिर उसके बाद वो आगे सोचना चाहिए कुछ जैसे अभी फर्स्ट ईयर में आए तो स्टडी ही सीधे चालू करना चाहिए या फिर कुछ उसके बारे में पहले ये समझना चाहिए कि स्टडी में क्या प्रोग्रेस करें या फिर सीधे स्टार्टअप के बारे में कुछ गैदर करें नॉलेज ताकि उसमें हेल्प मिले
Understood your point.
भैया
Acha, if I take any more questions now, I won't be able to take session only. So I'll take all the questions, but in the end, the point of the questions was for me to understand that what is the direction you are thinking in, and I can be there after the call also. So no worries, I'll not miss any questions. But the important thing um, which is there, acha, I may like previous speaker, I may also switch between Hindi and English. Hope that's okay, but I'll try to keep it predominantly English. Uh, One of the things that is quite crucial to understand is that how have we been trained as students? So, we were in class first till class 12th. We were all optimizing for grades, for marks in our school. And what all these tests were checking is that how much grades can you get, whether you can get 95 out of 100 in 12th class or whether you can get 96 out of 100 in 10th class, etc. And I feel that some of these things might have damaged the way we are thinking. And I want to correct that first before going ahead and thinking also about, doing a startup. So when I say so like we gave a lot of tests and we always wanted to be successful in those tests. I wanted to be, I was a topper in my class, right from class first till class 10th, 11th, 12th, I was, second topper, third topper. And my mind was always optimized that, how can I get maximum number of marks? Now we know like the tests are designed to test your skills in a particular subject, but is that really the case? Do you think that you're getting high marks in an exam proves that you know that subject well? Say, you are learning history and you are learning, say, World War One or World War Two, and the teacher tells in the class, these are the three reasons why World War One happened or World War Two happened. So you immediately write them down. You know that because teacher said that these are the three pointers, this must be something important. You don't feel like going much deeper into the details of it, why it happened, what can we learn from it, and being actually genuinely inspired in learning about history. So we are constantly optimizing towards not learning many times, but towards getting more marks. And if you think this doesn't make sense, do let me know. I feel one of the exams which is difficult to hack. And when I say hack, it means that it is difficult to pass that exam without actually knowing the stuff, without actually knowing the core of the things is IIT JEE. So it's a tough exam to pass. Those students who know how to rote memorize and just try to get around things, they cannot just get around IIT JEE ka physics section or chemistry or maths. It's designed to be trick questions who test all overall skills of you. You need to know rotational mechanics very well for you to solve even one question of it. And it's pretty hard. There are some videos online that even Harvard and Stanford or MIT students struggle with solving IIT JEE questions. So the point is that many of the questions tests in our lifetime have been hackable, and we are all from IIT BHU. So you all must be getting some good marks in school time, and you all must have optimized for getting good grades like me. But the problem is we somehow start thinking that the same thing works for startups also, that in the startups there must be some way to trick the system, to game the system, to hack the system and get funding, uh, do some growth hacks and get users, and do some hire just good talent and be a unicorn. But that is not the case. Those were some exams made by some authorities, CBSE, NCERT, IIT JEE Council. This is real life. This is real market, and you are actually selling products to actual customers. They are ruthless. They won't care, whether you scored 94 or 96. They want 100 out of product. Only then they'll prefer you over a competitor. So again, the byproduct of it is that, lot of these questions come up that how can I get VC funding, or get, how can I run ads and get users? How can I take an idea, how to get startup ideas? So these are some of the classic questions, or what are some good growth hacks to grow my startup? I think all these questions stem out of the fact that you are trying to win a startup, or you're trying to succeed in an exam called startup. But that's not what startup is. Startups are all about solving problems which users have and building a product which actually solves their core needs. Everything else will come your way. If you have a product which solves users' problems, users will definitely recommend it to all other users, and your startup will keep growing. And if it grows, VCs would be more than happy to fund you, and more and more people would want to join your team. You will keep getting more and more ideas and so on. So one of the very crucial things is to understand that startups are unhackable, and the way to do startups, and that is why startups are quite counterintuitive. The way we think about life in general, or the way we think about exams and success in general, someone asked that, what does it mean to be successful in a startup, is very different from the way we have been successful in our past exams, past tournaments, competitions, etc. So in startup, you don't have a boss. In fact, in many of the companies, you can just try to hack around a few things. You can show that you are working, but actually not do much work, and you can still survive in a job. But not in startup. You don't have a boss here to fool around. If you don't work, if you don't build for users, your startup fails. You run out of company and you die. So that is something, which I want you to establish, that the way we are thinking is little different to the way startups work. So I'll tell two more points going ahead, which may feel counterintuitive. You may not find it very natural, but that's how startups are. They are counterintuitive. Um, so first point is that it's how do you learn to make a startup? How do you learn to build a startup, to get users? Or is there a way you can just read a book and learn how to do startup? That is something like that doesn't exist or is not very important. For example, when Mark Zuckerberg might have started Facebook, he would not have studied that, what are the past 50 startups and how they worked and what they did differently. What skill you need to start a startup is to understand your users, is to understand your problems of those users, and you need to be on top of those problems, on top of those users to solve it end to end. That is what matters. And that is different for every startup. If you are in startup of edtech, you need to solve for different things. If you are in health tech, you need to solve for different things. And these cannot be taught. This can only be learned if you if you jump into the startup bandwagon and build something yourself, sell it to users, get failures, and learn from it. That is the only way to learn startup. In my opinion, many of these vocational startup entrepreneurship courses may not be that helpful. They can definitely provide you a bigger picture, but the real learning comes out of, it's like if I want to learn French, I will not go ahead and start learning how to learn a language, the art of learning the language. So I will directly start learning French. Similarly, if you are solving a problem, you would want to go head on and try solving for a startup, because every startup is trying to solve a different need. And that's why learning to start a startup is something that may not be very helpful. Unlike other things, we want to learn trigonometry, we simply read a book, understand trigonometry, do some questions, etc. But startups work differently. So once you understand that, it changes the way you think at startups, and it's much more hands-on, it's much more experiential than your regular learning. The second thing is that startups are all consuming. It'll consume your days, it'll consume your nights, it'll consume your whole team's bandwidth, and you'll still not have time to do anything. It can be very exhausting, at the same time very challenging, but that is what drives a lot of people, including me, to day in day out go ahead and work in it. But it is essentially true for all of them. Larry Page, founder of Google, everyone looks at him that he is a multi-billionaire, he must be driving in cars and chilling out, etc. That guy started out at the age of 25, and until last 2 3 years, he was the CEO of Google. Every day he must be facing constant challenges, trying to solve it, tirelessly working on his startup without a single day's break. Maybe he took some breaks, maybe not, but that is a very challenging job. And the worst part is they cannot even crib about it. He is a billionaire. What can he crib about? But his job again is very challenging, and startups are very challenging in general. The reason this point is very important, that startups are all consuming, is that can you start a startup in college? That becomes a question. And I remember, discussing with ECEL team that, we need to have more colleges, more startups out of college. We should increase that number from 10 to 50 and so on. But these are some of the pointers which I have taken from Y Combinator, Paul Graham's talks. because startups are so unique and I am just doing one startup of my own, that gives me a limited perspective, and I really somehow connect with what Y Combinator's founder says about startups in general, having invested so many startups including Airbnb, Dropbox, Segment, etc. They recommend not to start startup in college because of precisely the fact that startups are all consuming. How can you do a startup and be a student at same point of time? I start my day at 8:30 a.m. and I come back home at 10:30 p.m. and I have to do that daily grind for 2 years now, and it will keep continuing. It is something that goes along for 5 years, even 10 years if your startup succeeds. So to do that grind, uh, you need to be full on into it, and that's just tough when you are a college student. So that is one point which I wanted to establish, that startups in college is difficult. And it's not impossible. Many here will go against my advice and do it. And I would really welcome that if people do that. But for others, it starting like actually start, you can fool around and say that I'm doing a side project which is a startup, but if you're really starting a startup, it's tough to do that in college. But in the recent times we are seeing more successes of college students doing startups, but it's tricky. If you're getting my point, you have to spend a lot of time day in day out in all the activities, and it honestly becomes difficult to do justice to it. You always have a fallback system that if it doesn't work out, I can go back to college, I can go back to my job, etc., etc. I have my friends to take care of. But when you are in a deadlock where if you don't perform, your startup dies, that is what um, helps you take some drastic decisions, which kind of propels your startup towards the success. And that is quite important in my opinion. But that does not mean that nothing can be done. The question is, how can you prepare yourself so that when you pass out of college, another thing is, what is the right time to start a startup? And it is a very subjective question, but I feel that 25 to 24 to 27 ish age is very good. You can live very frugally, you don't spend much, and you have lots of ideas, and the age is on your side. You can be very passionate and you can work on a lot of things, and while you're out of college, it's easy for you to take risks. So this is the part one of the talk. In the part two of the talk, I will talk about how do you prepare yourself for creating a startup after your college. Not all opportunity is lost because you are not starting up in college or because you are delaying it. It's actually, you can do a lot more to set up for success for a prospective startup where you yourself are a founder and you are trying to build a unicorn of your own. But and I think, yeah, India has a huge potential of, we are just scratching the surface of startup ecosystem at the moment, and there is a lot that can be done for um, our startup ecosystem. Lot more startups are needed, and I really feel that IIT BHU should be at its forefront. But before I start, what can you actually do to prepare yourself for startup in after college? If there are any questions, I would like to quickly take them up.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, Pranay.
I had a quick question that after our degree is completed, should we opt for placements for a safety purpose, or should we just jump into a startup, devote all it to it?
You are a first year, right, at the moment?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So I would recommend, as a general policy, wait till third year and gain some experience. You will have a lot of clarity when you are in third year or fourth year in terms of how you want to proceed. It's a decision that you may not want to take at the moment. And ideally, I would say that if you are not sure of a problem that you have at hand, and we'll discuss that in much depth in next section, that how to get right startup ideas, how to find right co-founders, and how to get the right experience before you start your own startup. I would say that, it's good to have a job. Try to optimize for the right kind of job where you can learn a lot of things. And so, yeah. Anyone else is like, if you have even counterpoints to what I've discussed so far, feel free to share. If it makes sense, you have any feedback so far, please do share, or any questions also.
Yeah, sir, I had another question that can we run multiple startups like two together?
I think not, precisely for the reason that, that one startup itself is so time consuming and difficult to crack. It is quite difficult to scale a startup from 0 to 100,000 or 200,000 or a lakh users. It really gets you have to put everything out of you to reach there. And starting two startups, it's not like, studying two subjects or doing two side projects. It's a whole different game altogether. It's very harsh when you get negative reviews, if you when you see the graphs growing down, and that takes up all the effort that you have to keep the startups running. So, yeah. Anyone else, feel free to raise your hand and
Yes,
ask
sir.
questions. Yes.
So if we are having if we are having a startup and it's starting to growing up, and then we would have to means we will need some people in our team. And how can we approach for the team members? Like how to choose a perfect team member for our startup?
Makes sense, makes sense. And the fact that you're in college
Yeah.
gives you a lot of leverage. You have a high density place of talent in a one place, not at the moment. You are all virtual, but eventually it will be like a lot of good talent, amazing talent in just 5 kilometer radius. And that gives you a lot of possibilities. I would highly recommend to, be in touch with those who are doing great in terms of design, engineering, product management, or finance, all different domains, even core domains, those who are doing great in chemical, biomedical, civil, mechanical. Be in touch with them, have a strong network, and that is what will help you a lot. I'll tell you, so four of my iMumz's team members are from IIT BHU, and not because I've tried very hard for it, it just occurred naturally. We found that, these are the friends I worked with, this is the person I worked with in my club, etc., etc. And, that's how it turns out to be. So definitely having your initial peers as your early employees helps a lot.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Who else?
Sir,
Yeah.
you said we should go on head-on collision with problem solving. So, should we do internship in startups during our college?
Good question. Answer is definitely yes. It would help a lot for you to um, get to know the inside workings of a startup. How chaotic is it? Whether it is for you or not, also. How do founders think, and what kind of work are they doing? It looks very rosy from the outside, but internally it's the whole different game. And I would highly recommend, if you can get a startup internship, do check that what kind of people are there that you are getting to work with, whether they have some good experience, whether they have good reviews. And sure, I would highly encourage, that was one of the slides, that gain experience in startups.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else who has any questions before we go to the second? Yes.
Sir, on an average, how many technical startups actually become successful from India? I mean, which are purely based on their own domain, like electronics or computer, so that sort of.
Yeah, so I may not be able to give domain specific answer, but it's a known fact that 9 out of 10 startups fail. Maybe not in initial stages, some in later stages also, but it's just incredibly tough to enter a market and build a full-fledged growing company that, 9 out of 10 startups fail is what is the general norm. And many fail in the initial stage. If you're able to cross that initial stage, the chances improve. But the points that I'm going to cover in subsequent slides will really help you think in right way so that you increase the odds of success.
So, sir, is it better to choose a non-technical startups like in advertising field, marketing field, entertainment field, that sort of things?
It's difficult to say non-technical per se because every startup has a tech component attached to it. We just provide a pregnancy program for to-be mothers, and it's very impactful. But again, we deliver it through an app. That's why it can go on to scale. If you are a simple factory of production of, say, steam engines, how much can you scale it? It's difficult to scale it to a lot of users, and technology enables scale at a massive range. And I feel that tech has a major role to play when you are building a startup. So yeah, technical component has to be there. But where I feel interesting stuff happen is when you combine technology with a certain domain. So collision of domains is something I feel is very important. If you know about technology and you also know about, say, finance or advertising space or health tech, and you try to crisscross some solution out or solve some problems in between those fields, that can actually lead to some pretty good outcomes because domain experts of those fields don't understand technology. So that gives you a very strong leverage. Yeah.
And it is good to do internship at a big company or a startup.
Sorry, I missed your question. Can you repeat?
Yeah, it is good at to do internship at big companies or startup, which we have to choose.
If you are planning to
And
startup, definitely startup would be a better choice because you'll get to learn how things happen internally. But depends. Many of the bigger companies today are also operating like startups, getting to work at Razorpay, Unacademy. These are all big companies, but at the same time, they have good processes set up internally, and it would not be a bad idea to work in those companies as well. But getting that experience is mandatory for all the 102 people who are there here.
So let's say I will.
Like
Yeah.
you have done.
Yes.
Bhaiya, most of us do not have enough business knowledge for starting a startup. So how can we gain that knowledge?
A good question. You actually don't need a lot of business knowledge when starting a startup. It was similar to the point which I mentioned some time back that, not important to learn how startups work. You can figure most of these things out on your own as you go ahead. For example, you don't know how to get angel investment or what are safe notes. Safe notes are instrument through which you put an angel.
मैं क्या करूं? मेरा तो कुछ लेना देना ही नहीं है SBI से.
Sorry. So yeah, I think the point is that it's okay not to have business understanding of things as long as you are able to understand and solve user problems. I think that is what matters. Try to get users to pay money often and early, and that should solve most of these things. Understanding a thorough business knowledge is not necessary. In fact, it can be counterproductive when you're starting a startup, which is very counterintuitive domain by default, like not very obvious things work out. For example, Dropbox founder was once upon a time going somewhere and he could not find his USB stick. That's when he realized that, he should make Dropbox and all the files should be online. And now it feels so obvious, How come no one thought of this? But there are problems and solutions right in midst of us, which are very obvious. And when someone creates a solution out of it, you will feel like, I could have thought of this solution easily, but training your mind so that you always think of these problem solutions is what is very crucial. And that is what I would want to, cover in next segment. First is startup ideas. How to get startup ideas. One thing I would want to say is don't think of startup ideas in terms of ideas. You sit down with a pen on pencil and you start thinking, okay, now I want to think of a startup idea. That is not how it is done. Most of the startups which are successful today are having startup ideas which founders themselves face, are having problems which startups themselves face, or they encountered it during their course of journey. So the way you do that is by actually thinking in terms of problems. How many times are you constantly thinking that, what are the problems around me and how can I solve it? I'll tell you 2, 3 examples of what I did during our technical fest techniques. We have a registration desk where everyone comes in and you have to manually assign a hostel to each user and you have to manually take payment, etc., and assign them an ID card. And it becomes a huge hassle every year. I know how to, create a whole website, but our college does not have a very good internet connection back then. So I created a local server using a Wi-Fi router, and I connected 6 laptops back to back on tables, and all of them were connected to a central database and a central Django server running. And I downloaded the whole college website database to my local system and made a nice platform through which everyone can generate tickets. And it was very good. It was very successful. We could not have long queues and everyone was able to uh, go through the whole registration process fairly quickly. You saw a problem, you saw that there is a chance of solving it, and you build a tech solution for it. And you see that users are actually using it in front of you. The ops team and publicity team is like, keeping you on shoulders that, macha diya tum logon ne, tech team ne macha diya and all that. So yeah, it's good stuff, but having that thinking is very important. I could think that way because I was on edge of the technical learning during my college time only. I knew how to build websites. I knew how to build servers. I knew how to get together a few LAN cables and a few Wi-Fi routers to set up a solution. And I could see a problem and solve that. I need all of you to do that also. What you need to do is that you need to live in future and then see what's missing around you. I'll tell you an example. For 2000 to 2004, internet was not so common. Those who were using internet were called hobbyists, or internet enthusiasts. But Mark Zuckerberg was living the future. He was always on internet. He was always having a virtual identity. And if he would have pitched to a 40-year-old person back then that, I want to make this pseudo network, virtual network where everyone can post their own life content online, no one would have believed him. But today we use Facebook so much, and that's what it is. So because you don't need to be a programmer per se, or you don't need to actually be a researcher of cutting edge technology, but you definitely need to live in the future. You need to definitely be in touch with future technologies. You need to be a part of what's going on in technology future, and that actually opens your eyes to see that this is very obvious. uh, I am making a poster every time for eCell, and it's so tough to get those graphics, get that text. And I know that my copywriting skills are so bad, so why cannot I just make an AI bot where I write down a text and it gives me a poster? Like, it should not be so hard because I know a little bit of AI. This is how each of your thought process should work. And living in the future and then building something cool building something that you feel it's very obvious that it should be there. For example, I feel it's very obvious we do Flutter and Android iOS app development. So the whole website development is now doable on GitHub code spaces, but not mobile app development. I feel that it should be very easy for people to do mobile app development. Maybe if I would not have been doing iMum's, I see that this is a problem which um, is of immense importance to me. I would really pay for solving some of these problems. But if someone can create a online IDE to do Flutter development, Android development, I think that would make sense. But I can think because I constantly think of what are the problems which I am facing, my friends are facing, what can be the solutions, and I am constantly on the edge of technology. So the founder of Netscape, one of the first browsers, internet browsers, Anderson Horowitz says that we have barely scratched the surface of technology and internet advancements, and there is a lot more to come. So definitely technical startups have a major advantage here that, because things are changing so rapidly as we speak, it is much more easier to find a white space, find a problem statement, and solve it with a novel solution. So that is the first point. How to get startup ideas. Don't think in terms of startup ideas. Think in terms of what are the problems in your life around you, and how can you solve them. And it's good that you have some clash of domains, bio and computer science, electronics and computer science, or something website development and civil engineering. These clash of domains can actually result in many good ideas. A good domain understanding of these areas is very helpful. And also, I think everyone should also learn to code, because even if you like it, you don't like it, you should have a basic understanding of how programming works in general. You should have a basic understanding of how software works in general, because we are, like, right now in 2022, I am surrounded with Prezi, I'm surrounded with Microsoft Teams, there is Slack open, browser has Figma open. I'm using around 35 tools right now on my Mac, and it's going to keep increasing. If you are not at the forefront of technology, if you don't know how technology works, you are going to miss out on a lot of things. And in college, you have time to do that. So definitely learn how to code, even if you're not interested in it. And that would be super helpful, because now you cannot just think of problems and solutions. You can actually code something out and give it to, someone who is having problem, and see whether it's solving a problem. Yes, Dhruv.
In which year we have to start the startup, or starting to code?
Right now, you can start right now. What's stopping you to learn today evening after 5, 6 p.m.? I think there's no bar. There's no bar at all. Especially when you're working in remotely, you have lots of time to pursue this.
So let's say I have an idea in first year, first semester. How do we approach to an investor and
I think so. I think if you're still asking this question, maybe my whole talk was not in right direction only, because I am trying to establish the same point. This is how we generally think when we think of exams. you know I want to get 100 marks in maths. How do I do that? I have an idea with me. How do I get an investor on board? That is not you have to think through. The way you have to think is, I see that there is a problem. I want to create a solution for it. I think this solution should work. Let me build that solution. Let me see if people use it. Do people use that solution? Do I need to change anything? Do I need to improve the solution? How can I get more and more people to use it? How can I get more feedback from people and improve my solution? How can I get more aha moments and more delight moments for my customers? Are these customers willing to pay? Are these customers sharing about my product through word of mouth? And when that growth happens, you will get emails from investors saying that please accept my money. You will not have to go other way around. This is not an exam that you have to pass. This is actually real life problem solving at scale using technology that you are going into. And if you crack that, if you have a solution that clicks, other things will not be a problem. Hiring talent, getting VC money, or I don't know, growth hacks, you will not have to think about it, at least in the early stage. Am I
And
making?
like,
Yes.
Yeah. Yes,
and
Dhruv.
we have talked about internship. So if you are like you have a pharmaceutical company, so have you done any internship in that domain or in technical domain?
Depends. I think both would be good. If so, again, as I said, clash of domains is good. Definitely do not like what I'm not advocating is you don't get your domain knowledge. I think you should do your college studies well because what you learn will really help you be a very good domain expert. And if you are a domain expert, then only you can think of solutions in your domain. I think pharmacology has lot of areas where technology can bring lot of advancements. There are a lot of problems to be solved in that domain also. So sure, I think you can choose whichever field interests you more.
Sir,
And I have a question. I was watching Shark Tank yesterday, and once one investor said that you need a co-founder, and like in most of the episode, they talked about co-founder. So, do we actually need co-founder or not?
Very good question. Ayush, is it right? Um,
No,
no, sir.
oh,
It's Siddharth.
okay.
that,
So yeah, a very good question. I feel that co-founders are quite important because startups are a very lonely journey, and it's like you imagine a very heavy downpouring rain and your shoes are kind of stuck somewhere and you're walking uphill. That's how startups are like. If you have someone holding your hands and walking by you, you would love to have that. So, and again, there are a lot of skill sets required. So let me take this question and answer my next slide only. College is a hotbed of talent, and it is a fact that 50% of startups have co-founders who were colleagues, who were in the same college, who were friends from same colleges, who were friends who did same projects. And I think college is a wonderful time to expand your network, to grow friendships, to see whom you bond with well, to see who could be your prospective, startup friend or startup co-founder in coming years. I think that's very crucial. And the way you do that is that you do a lot of side projects. I did a lot of side projects during my college. I built a portal through which you can actually change your branch after first year. So that was a portal built by me and Dushyant, a friend of mine. I built another dashboard for Technics that was built by me and my roommate Omkar. And I collaborated with multiple people across the college in design, in marketing, in technology. And with all of them, I worked together so that I could get exposure on who is the right person to work with me and who is the one who I bond with well. Because at the end of the day, you need to have someone who can handle the stress very well because startups are going to be stressful.
Which year of yours?
Sorry.
So in which years of yours you have to start making the websites and all that stuff? First year or second?
Yeah. And right now, I think Dhruv, is it right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Dhruv, you ping me after the call. I'll ensure that you'll have a website running within 15 days. 15 days it takes. Less than 15 days. 10 days we can have a website ready. dhruvaseri.com. Nothing is stopping you here. I am telling you, I am hiring interns from some Maharaja Pranavir Singh College of Technology, might be a decent college, but their first yearites are building websites, they are building apps, they are building software stacks, they have done internships in first year of college. So I am surprised to hear that how come IIT BHU Janta is saying that. You guys need to pump up and get on with it. What's stopping you? You are like cream of the country. And if you ask me that should I start doing website in first or second year, then you need to seriously think. Is there really a lot of coursework that you don't have time for anything else? Or what do you think, Aditi? I think we have some time, right, for first years also.
Yes, we have a lot of times, specifically in this online semester.
Right. See, Dhruv, what Aditi is saying. We have a lot of time, and so yeah, definitely, it's very easy to get started. There are a lot of online resources, and it's much more easier to get started with uh, learning technology. It's very important, as I said, because if you are on edge of the latest technology, then only your mind will be tuned to be in the future. When you are in the future, then only you can spot those problems which are happening around you. And you need to have, so I was on co-founders topic. You need to have co-founders who are builders, who love to build stuff. They can build around night and ship something new. If we are having a problem with sharing notes in your class, they can just make a nice Google Drive integration and all the notes come in nice folders chapter wise. I think it's very easy to build such a solution. It's very easy to build a solution where you can have an app to chat just between your class or something like that. So you need to have some tinkerers, builders who love to build games, build nice games, build fun apps. And if you see somewhere in your corridor, there was a guy named Abhay. There is a guy named Abhay who was in my college, and he used to build lots of apps and games continuously. He made a 3D game of plane with Unity. He made a Go Seeky app which does something I don't remember. But I knew that if I start something, I would want to do it with this guy. And even though we haven't started anything, I am very close friends with him. I always call him up whenever I face any issues in my startup. And you need to have a circle of those builders, those people who can take stress, who are taking leadership positions in clubs, and who are actually driving things forward. So, yeah, I think this is how you should have a community of co-founders, prospective co-founders, and that is very, very crucial during college time. Figure out who would be the person who would you want to build startup with. Me and my roommate, we used to, I remember that during my college time we were not getting train tickets, and we were actually outside our college. There is a place where you can get train tickets. We thought of doing a night out there so that we can be first in the line in the morning, and we discussed so many problems, so many startup ideas and solutions. And it's very fun time that you can do that in college. It's very difficult to do this with professional colleagues. It may seem easier, but it's not that easy in professional setup to bond that well, and to actually come out of your comfort zone and do a startup. There are cases, 20-30% is that also, but college gives you a crazy immense opportunity to be in a dense talent pool area, and you need to have lot more connections, engagements, build small projects with different people and figure out with whom you are able to gel well. And the last thing is experience. We have covered this already very well, that the best way to learn about startups is to actually go work in them. It is thoda difficult to work in startups, but if you keep at it, generally people want to get work done. And if you are able to compromise a little bit on stipend, etc., I think many would be happy to have you on board and get some work done. And do not compromise on that initial learning. And that's where having skill sets which are startup friendly, for example, knowledge of Python instead of C++, or knowledge of Facebook ads instead of general marketing, would help a lot. And see what are the problem statements that startup work on and how can you get in it. I think case studies would also help a bit. But yeah, in like the bottom line is gain some experience, build some side projects, build your network, and make a thought process of having thinking in the future, thinking of problems, thinking of solutions constantly, so that whenever the next problems come in front of you, your mind is already thinking of right solutions, and you come across the right startup idea right then and there. So yeah, I think that's all which I wanted to share. I think we are past 5 minutes our time, but I hope that you're getting the gist of what I'm trying to share. The important thing is that it's not an exam. It is real life. It has its own challenges, and the way you succeed at it is not by some trick, but not by some jugaad, not by getting VC money. I'm telling you, if you get VC money, you get 1 or 2 CR. 1 or 2 CR is not enough. The general tech salaries are say 15 lakhs per annum at the moment. How many engineers can you keep at 15 lakhs per annum? And for how many years? Maybe 12 months till you can keep 7 people. 7 people team, do you think you can actually get the startup where it needs to go without actually pinpointedly solving the problem? You are actually, putting kuladi on your feet if you are prioritizing on VC fundraising versus actually solving the problems. And I am saying, don't optimize on finding the right idea right in the college. Just think of doing lot of college projects. Just make sure that you learn technology, you bond with the right set of people, and you keep building stuff. Keep building things which you feel that can be good side projects. And if you think that one of the side projects is getting a huge amount of traction, like Facebook, then you can call me up and say that, I want to start a startup and I want to drop off or something. I want to prioritize this over college. So yeah, that is what I wanted to share. Would be happy to take a couple of questions.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, I have a doubt. Why some startups grow very fast and some fail? For example, Udan, a startup which was started by IIT Delhi students, it is very successful. Like in less than 2 years, it became a unicorn startup. And so, what are the factors which differentiate a very good startup and a startup which failed?
Again, Udan is an outlier case. Do you know the founders of Udan? They were like ex senior executives at Flipkart. They know inside out how to play B2C e-commerce game, and they saw that B2B e-commerce is going to be huge, and they jumped at the right amount of time there. They know how to scale the systems. They had the right amount of capital. So they are second, third time founders who are building stuff. You cannot compare it with, say, some early stage startup who is being run by first time founder. So for example, Cred has already started with a huge amount of fundraising, and the founder is a second time founder with lot of faith from investor communities. So they will see a rapid massive growth because that is how they are making things. Definitely, if you are being a founder for so long time, you understand a lot of this stuff and your mind always thinks of problems and solutions. You have the right set of co-founders around you. You have a very good experience, all those 3 points which I covered just now. So you are very well destined for success.
Sir, and sir, that if we need, how much fund we need? How can we start from zero if we don't have anything and we have to make a startup? Do we need some funds beforehand, or just by taking some work we earn money and then invest it in our startup?
So I think being frugal is important. Again, we are talking after college. If we are talking after college, you can easily survive on a smaller freelancer salary, and you generally people have funds that can help them survive for a year. And an year is a good enough runway for you to get 2, 3 friends along and try build a solution. What you don't need any help for building a solution. You don't need much help for going out on the roads and asking people to use that solution, to send some email, to send some marketing campaigns, etc., etc. I think 6 months without funding, you can easily bootstrap. Once you feel that the product is gaining some traction, there are users who are really liking the product or really liking the product but hating the bugs in it, that means you are onto something. And once you show these graphs to a VC, it will be easier for them to fund. Again, VC fundraising has a lot of nuances in it, which is outside the scope of today's call actually. But yeah, definitely not. Do not think in first year that how do I get a VC funding? Do not think in that terms, because then you will not prioritize for very innovative side projects and meeting right set of people and getting domain expertise. Learn your academics well, learn your domain skills well, learn technology well, find your right network, gain right experience. That is, and build the right mindset for being a startup founder. That is what should be your priority at the moment. Fundraising and all are byproducts that you will get as you go ahead in startup.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So you are, in a way, your startup is into the domain of health tech. So I just wanted to just ask you, because I just want to tell you a little about my ideas so that you could guide me a little. We notice nowadays that children do want to take care of their old parents, but again, people also want their own space. Like the old people want their own space, they want to stay in their houses, and the kids also they want to work in their own places. So hence, I thought that my startup could be someone assisting these old people, like hypothetically, like I'll tell you this idea I got because of my own house. My grandparents moved into my place, but then they don't want to stay in my house. They want to have their own space and all. So then what we did, we requested one of my, like मेरे घर में जो भाई काम करती है उनकी बेटी को बोला. It's because she, the present generation now, the maids, they don't want to work like maids. They want to do something better. So I thought I could have a startup where I get these maids, train them, and then bring them, give them little those medical knowledge and all, so that they can become like full-time assistants to these old people. क्योंकि you don't need like proper nurse type. उनको लिए बस ये होना चाहिए कि इनको पार्क में जाके घुमाना है, yeah, all that. So I thought that I could have an app. जैसे urban company में क्या होता है, हमें haircut चाहिए, हम वहां पे बुक करते हैं, वो आता है घर को. वो भी technically एक barber ही है, like a shop, but he comes home. So like that, I thought my app could be, which could get these people, like I could sit anywhere in the country. Suppose my grandparents are somewhere else. From here, I could book a maid. Or the day when she's on leave, another person could come and take care. So how do you think this idea goes on?
Yeah, I think it's difficult to say whether an idea will succeed or not, but on purely theoretical grounds, sure, sounds like a very great idea. There must, if you feel that you have a need, probably others might also be having a need, and worth taking it up if you feel that, you can try. Building an app is a small thing, you will get to learn a lot. Try building it for a few localities around and see how is the response, and then try to pitch it to more and more people and how it goes. Maybe not during your college time, but you can take it up as a side project at the moment. But yeah, I think there could be a good potential for it working well. Definitely, there could be a good potential for it working out well. Difficult to say at the moment that how it will pan out.
So it's like I just wanted some advice on how do I approach it, like starting from now, because I do want to work on it. So what should be like my first step towards it?
Correct, correct. I think this is a very specific question. I will take this up personally with you, but right now let's take questions who can be helpful for others also. So yeah, yeah. Who else would want to go? We can take a couple of more questions.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Hi, Aditya.
I wanted to ask you, what was your inspiration behind your own startup? I mean, how did you decide to get behind this specific problem?
Good question. I am
One
giving
more
an
question.
advice. Yes.
And what is a backup plan also if the startup fails?
यार ध्रुव, तुमसे तो ना मैं एक बार फोन कॉल करूंगा इस कॉल के बाद. हाँ, मतलब you have lots of questions, but ठीक है. So that's a very good question because I am a man who is unmarried. So what am I doing in pregnancy space is a common question many investors ask. And a quick background of my journey: I have been a meditator for past 6 years. I feel that holistic lifestyle can have huge impact on one's lifestyle. And Ravi, the other co-founder, belongs to 5 generations of Ayurvedic physicians. His family understands Ayurveda very well, and he has come from those Ayurvedic roots. Together, we believe that, a holistic lifestyle and a mindful lifestyle is very crucial in current times. And we were just wondering what are the areas where it could be of most impact in itself. And that's where we stumbled across pregnancy. And yes, it was quite difficult in beginning because we used to go in parks and reach out to women and ask them that, how is your pregnancy going? And they would say that, no, I'm not pregnant. Am I looking pregnant? And all sorts of crazy discussions. But like we talk to a lot of to-be mothers, lot of doctors, and we still keep doing that and keep trying to understand that, what are their core problems and how can we solve it. This is something that's very close to my heart because my mother has been a very strong proponent of Garbha Sanskar, which is like a mindful traditional way of pregnancy in Maharashtra. So there are connections here and there. Two of our other co-founders, Rajesh Jageshia is a very senior meditation coach. Dr. Jaideep Malhotra is a very senior gynac. So a very unique team of 4 co-founders working on this problem. So yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah. Any other questions? Feel free to ask.
Hello, sir.
Hi, Pratik.
Actually, I had a question how a tech guy can become a founder. Like, what extra skills he should learn? Like, what are the traits of a founder? Should he be an all-rounder who can have some knowledge of everything that involves a startup, like finance, etc.?
Yeah, I think definitely understanding users and understanding their problems is a key skill every founder should have. And that requires a certain mindset to be empathizing about the users. Empathizing is a very overused word. Like you should be able to, like how Raghavi was able to see that there is some problem when this she is facing this issue. That mindset should constantly be there. If that's there, it will work for any domain you are in. But that is one. Secondly, I would say that apart from tech, do try your hands on in um, different core domains also so that you have cross domain understanding. But in general, these two things are fairly important. Others are people skills. You need to have very good communication. You should be able to articulate and share your points across. You should be able to have good people skills, managing, leading people. But that I think you can learn on the go.
Bhaiya, how did this
Sir?
pandemic affect your business?
Sorry?
And how did this pandemic affect your startup? And
Oh,
how you sustain it?
yeah, it was good for us in a way, actually, because that's when we started monetizing our product, and that's when it's kind of started increasing because to be mothers and pregnant women were all in their homes away from doctors and they needed much more support. So, and we were totally digital. We do user acquisition through Instagram ads at the moment and organic word of mouth. 50-50% or so. So it did not affect much of us. Like it affected us in a positive way overall.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, can you share your startup journey till now in the view of timelines? Like, sir, when did you started working on it till now?
Sure. Jan 2019 is when I decided not to work at the Art of Living International Center. And by the way, I had a job offer from a couple of tech companies after my college, but I instead chose to join at the Art of Living International Center because primarily I was very interested in meditation and I wanted to explore how much I can add value. I built a lot of CRM related tools. I actually built a Google Sheets based calling system that you can call through calling team can use in during Art of Living. And I used to build a lot of side projects there also. I built a easy tool where you can easily create a report and send a report to any organization which Art of Living does a collaboration with to colleges, and I made a lot of automation systems there. But then I realized that I want to start something of my own. And Jan 2019 is when I stopped working and officially started working here. April, May, we decided what we want to build, and it took me 1 month to get a basic version out. April to November, we kept working on our product. We had our highs and lows. In November, we are at our very lowest. We did not have faith in our product. That's very crucial, actually. And December, we kind of moved out of Bangalore. We went in Agra, we went in Delhi, we met with a lot of doctors. We went in Lucknow. We even came to Banaras in one of our e-cell summits. And that's when we were roaming around the country, seeing some other problem. But then we came back to this problem that, other things are not working. Let us try to solve this only. From March 2020 onwards, things started working. March till December, we grew a lot. January, we got our first fundraise, and January to May, June, we again grew a lot more. And then we kind of stagnated a bit till October, November. Now, again, 2022, we are picking up well. So let's see how it goes. But yeah, it's a journey with lots of highs and lows. We still are a 13 people total team size, and 2 tech team members apart from me. So the whole work is done by a very small team, and we are trying to help as many to be mothers as possible. But yeah, it's very fun. The challenge itself is very gratifying. So definitely, I would want to say everyone that stretch yourself to the tasks which you find are outside of your comfort zone, which are quite challenging for you. That is what will help you train when you become a founder after college or whenever you start up. So you need to get yourself in those scenarios which are little complicated, which are little chaotic, which require a lot of coordination. See, Aditi and the whole team of eCell is trying to get this event together working. That definitely must be adding a lot of skill sets to them. So, yeah. Yeah. Any last questions? I think we have our next eCell event also coming up. So
Yes.
I'll just keep.
Bhaiya, there is a question in the chat box like, what if we do a startup, got fund, then failed? So where I end up, I am in debt or something.
Oh, actually, no. Um, you are not in debt, but the way this works is company is a separate legal entity in itself, and when there are certain clauses, then if the company is getting shut down, whatever resources are there in the company, whether there is a land belonging to company, laptops, etc., everything is sold, and whatever money is obtained, first priority is given to investors and then to founders. So you don't lose anything per se. You are not in debt, but depends what clauses are there with investors. General VC firms do not hold founders accountable. The way their model works is they know 9 out of 10 startup fails, and they try to find the right startups, but they are okay if something fails. So yeah, if that's all, I would like to conclude this session here. And I would again want to thank eCell and the whole eCell team, Harshit, Amit, and everyone for organizing this event. I think um, these are the right set of initiatives for setting you up for success, but always optimize for learning in these early years, and keep in touch and keep growing your network. Keep doing some side projects continuously. I built a lot of side projects during my college time, and I'm super proud of doing all of them. So keep building stuff just for fun, just for learning. I built games, I built chat apps, I built Technics में multiple portals. I also built now Facebook has those um, on profile pic, there are these overlay graphics, that Republic Day graphics, etc., which come up on profile picture. It was not there back then. And we created a portal where you can just sign in with Facebook. We take your profile picture. We put Technics ka logo there and update it on your website. And the whole college next day had Technics ka logo on it, Facebook. We also created a bot which auto-liked all of Technics posts. And it was hated by everyone, including Technics team members. So yeah, a lot of interesting stuff. Then Facebook eventually banned those APIs only. But we kept doing a lot of interesting things. And that's what, I think was one of the core things that really helped me in the longer run. And that is what I'm trying to establish here also. Do not think in terms of fundraise, startup, etc. Just build stuff, try out some cool things, be on edge of technology, keep doing side projects with your colleagues, keep learning and gaining new experiences in form of internships, projects. And when you're out of college, give me a call. We'll figure out some nice problem statement to do a startup. So yeah.
आपके स्टार्टअप में कंट्रीब्यूट कर सकते हैं हम या इंटर्नशिप कर सकते हैं क्या?
मेरे को रेज्यूमे भेजो. I'll see. You can take my email from Tanaya or Aditi, or they can send it across. Yeah. Or you can connect me on LinkedIn. Mayur Dhurpate. If you just type, you'll find me on LinkedIn.
So you said that you would tell me about my idea, like I could connect to you.
Sure, Raghavi, connect with me on LinkedIn.
Okay, I think we are end with the session. Thank you so much, Bhaiya, for this insightful session. I'm very sure that all the freshers and along with us, we have learned a lot from this session, and they are going to implement this in the near future for sure. So on behalf of ECEL IIT BHU, I would like to thank you for taking your time to interact with us.
Sure. Thanks for all the freshers to coming on another call. So yeah.
Thank you, sir. It was really great talking to you. We hope you keep coming back to IIT BHU for more such talks.
Yes, totally. Let's meet in person next time.
Definitely.
We hope that.
We hope so.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Nice session.
All right. Yeah, happy to hear that. Please, if you have any feedback, if you like this session, ping me on LinkedIn, share your thoughts.
Thank you. Just an announcement for freshers. We have a Linkit coming live from 6 p.m. So do go there. If you haven't registered yet, you still have 3 minutes to quickly go and register for the treasure hunt competition. And we also have another session coming up for you on Sunday. So stay tuned. Thank you.
Yeah, send me the link for treasure hunt to you.
Definitely. So it's a freshers only competition. But
okay. All right. See you everyone. Bye.
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 Stay safe, guys. Bye.